Hi guys, welcome to Astrology and Earth Magic. I'm Jen and I'm here to provide a little astrological wisdom to guide us through the upcoming partial solar eclipse. Now, the partial solar eclipse is coming up this Sunday, the 21st, in the sign of Virgo and at the 29th degree. Yes, that anaretic degree. This one I think is going to be super impactful, and I think it really is going to change everything with a lot of the changes that we need, especially with everything that's going on nowadays. So we're really deep into this, I think, very consequential eclipse season. We've seen the polarity of Virgo and Pisces being that earth and water and just complete opposite. With Virgo, what is that reality and what is concrete? And then we have Pisces, which is kind of more delusional, delusional. And we've seen those people that are delusion, that are naive, that are programmed, easily manipulated, kind of seeing the worst side of Pisces really rearing its ugly head since that last eclipse, that lunar eclipse that we just had in Pisces. Because as that came to pass, we've seen a lot of crazy, shocking, and really polarizing events. So we see that polarity where people are still on opposite sides. And so we had the first one I can think of is that murder on that train of that Ukrainian refugee, Iryana Zarutska. Completely senseless. It was somebody that had been in and out of jail a bunch of times and killing this refugee who came here from the war-torn country of Ukraine, just kind of seeking a new life. And she was actually just getting out of work and got stabbed, and he just stabbed her in the neck. The videos of her face afterwards, just that shock, or just so impactful, I think, and they are just everywhere, and it's hard not to see it. And then, that story didn't come out. It didn't happen after the eclipse, but it didn't come out until after the eclipse. So that is that kind of something being exposed, something being brought to light, something that was once obscured, just kind of making itself known and then just blowing up. Next, we saw the another of this highly erratic, delusional energy come to a head with the assassination of the conservative activist Charlie Kirk, where somebody, again, just thinking that it's okay, that because they thought differently, that they went and they shot him. And then another one that I saw was about, it was actually on the same day, that was on the 10th, and so day before 9/11. And this one too, it was an Indian businessman. I think he was a hotel owner in Dallas. His name was Chandra Naja Malia, I think is how to spell it. I'm sorry if I just butchered that. He was actually got in a confrontation with somebody, again, who was in and out of jail. This person was an illegal immigrant, and he was actually beheaded in front of his family. So just right in, I think it was the early morning hours, but still, like, right with people right there and everything. So just kind of the same as who killed this Irania. It was somebody that kind of should have been put into jail, but kept getting out. So this is what caused the polarity. All three should have been universally just condemned, these horrible murders. People placing blames then on the victims themselves. Some of them, as we see with Charlie Kirk, people are saying, oh, what he said wasn't right, and it, made people angry. So does that mean that he should have gotten killed? So, and that's kind of the things that I think that are coming to light, is you're starting to have to kind of look at yourself and see, like, okay, like, am I just taking these things way too personally, and these abhorrent acts of senseless murder. It's just, everyone has a life, everyone has their own beliefs, and now if you don't have the same beliefs, you have to be worried that somebody might do something. So anyway, as we start to close this open portal between the two eclipses during this eclipse season, we say, like, how can we leave all this ugliness and hate and division behind us and come back together as a country, as just a people in general? Because this is happening all over the world. We're seeing a lot of division everywhere, really, with all the things that are happening around the world. An eclipse is a catalyst. It's an eye-opening kind of slap of reality that is a pivotal moment. It's kind of like you don't have a choice in the matter. So it's unavoidable. It's a change towards growth and transformation. So you want to look at, like, will this be a time of renewal, rebirth, a reawakening, maybe seeing the truth. What is the truth? Because I don't think anyone really right now knows for sure, because you're hearing one truth on one side, one truth on another side, and it's not just a political thing. A lot of it is political, but it's just, oh, who do you stand for? Well, I stand for the complete opposite. It's and especially when you look at the girl that was murdered on the train, that should not be okay at all. And that's not political at all, but it still seems to be divided. That, like, oh, well, this poor guy, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, not to get into all that. Well, we have a renewal of our faith in humanity, a rebirth as we come together and unite from so much tragedy before it gets any worse. Virgo is the sign of knowledge. It's about, like, a fact finding, wanting to know everything, and down to the last little detail, wanting to know everything about everything. This can be mainly when it comes to Virgo, it could be regarding health, our workforce, our everyday routines, of course, even pets. But I look at eclipses, if it was just like the full moon, it would be more of a kind of personal. But when there are eclipses, it's more of like on a grander scale. So like a global scale, pretty much. This is what happens to the collective. So again, it could be health. This could be the health of the public, mental and physical health. So we see where that kind of, shows up with the tragedies that happen, that, these people have to have something going on, some mental health issues that led them to do these things. We could find, breakthroughs, shocking truths coming out, very mercurial, shocking things that come out in the news, different kind of communications, hearing things also that are causing division. It could be because we do have, this is a polarity, how things are communicated could be something that we could see. Of course, like, again, looking in at yourself, critiquing who you've become. That Virgo is kind of like that nitpicky, like looking at something and picking it apart. And so it might be a time where you want to look introspectively, look into yourself, and, kind of just see where your mind's at and say, like, is this healthy for me to be thinking this way? Because again, this all has to do with health, and that polarity is that mental and physical health. Because what you have going on mentally, stress and anxiety, can actually hurt your physical health as well. So, looking at also what could be causing any health issues that you might be having personally. It's like, okay, all of a sudden you find something out, you could get some shocking news about your health or something. So if you are planning on getting something checked out, I probably wouldn't, of course, go and get surgery. If at all possible, try and have it on a better date than during the eclipse. Luckily, it's happening on a Sunday, so that usually doesn't happen. But the solar eclipse is a new moon that is in close proximity with the nodes. So this one, though, is a little further away, which makes it only a partial solar eclipse. But really, I think its strength is going to be intense nonetheless, because of everything else that's happening around it. The solar eclipse is opposite Saturn and Neptune. And so we have that confusion between, what is real, what is concrete. So we're seeing a lot of that with the Saturn and Neptune, with just that Pisces, Virgo opposition, polarity. So we see that, like, not knowing what's truth and what's not truth. On the Friday prior to the eclipse, so tomorrow, we have that grand trine formation almost at its exact. So that is a grand trine in air, with Mercury in the sign of Libra, Uranus in the sign of Gemini, Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So an air grand trine, again, searching for answers, wanting to know the truth, brewing with ideas, news breaks coming up, things everywhere, like our minds working on overdrive. So much to process, so much going on. This trine is topped by sextiles to Saturn and Neptune, so which makes it actually a grand kite formation. So we have the grand trine like that. I'm not making a very good triangle. That's better. And then at the bottom, we have that little peak with the two sextiles going. And so then right down the middle, we have that peak, which is Saturn and Neptune. And then at the other side, we have Mercury. So that opposition to Mercury creates that grand kite formation. And that again is digging for answers. And if you pull up the chart at the exact time of the eclipse, you see the kite is pointing down. So almost like it's digging into the ground, digging for answers, digging for the truth, digging for knowledge and help and guidance. Grand trines are a good energy, so that's a positive. But the opposition can point to, again, that things coming out in the news that we don't expect. A lot of it can have to do with things that are coming out with health again, and the workforce. One thing I had actually just seen, it popped up on my news break on my phone, and I was like, oh my God. So it said that RFK Jr., someone was speaking out about RFK Jr., how he was putting the public health at risk because of cuts. So health, Virgo. Cuts, Virgo. Virgo is fine-tuning, getting rid of the fat, getting rid of the excess. So very Virgo right there. So hopefully with the good trine energy, nothing bad will happen. But the first thing that popped into my head was, oh my God, are they going to go after RFK? Is somebody going to try and attack him next? So, I mean, it just all, like, the second that I saw that, I was like, oh my God, you never know. Because that's what I'm talking about with people that are being disillusioned and almost brainwashed into thinking a certain way, thinking someone's evil because they're doing something and doing something. Like, look at the guy right now, especially as we're going towards this solar eclipse, the one that killed the United Healthcare CEO, who just got his charges reduced. So again, like, strange things are happening around that kind of healthcare. So hopefully, if there is a plot, if there is something, it'll be thwarted. We'll find out about it first with that Mercury digging down and, trying to, even if it's a copycat or retaliation or something unforeseen, hopefully it will be caught, it will be stopped with this. And it could cause, like, maybe a big, like, sudden, like, okay, something has to be done this time. I was hoping that would be with the Charlie Kirk assassination, that something would have to be done, but it still seems like that polarity and that division is still there and still going strong. And I was hoping that that would be like that turning point, name of his company, to where that was going to stop. So also, just to make it a little bit more, the build up to the eclipse, we have a yod. So a yod is 2 planets in sextile and quincunx the 3rd planet, which makes a tall, thin triangle. And that 3rd planet is like the catalyst, is the apex. So that's where the finger is pointing, the finger of God, almost kind of like it is the fate. And this is like, okay, God's saying that's what's going to happen, pointing right to it. And what is the planet? So we have the 2 sextiles, which are Venus and Mars. That's nice. Oh, that's lovey-dovey, sexual, loving. But then what are they opposing? They are opposing the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So again, that is just playing a key role in this, and just really that fact and fiction, that reality versus fantasy, just right there. And that is at the apex of this. And that began around the 15th on Monday. But it's still creating that, that other layer that is adding on, so that someone or something destined or fated to be the catalyst. Now, when I was first seeing this, you think, okay, that's again got to be the Charlie Kirk thing. That's the catalyst. That's what's going to change everything, because you can imagine hating somebody and just being like, oh, I hope something happens. But when you actually see it, and they actually see the video that's everywhere, I haven't watched it, but I know a lot of people that have, and how horrible it is, that's when reality can kind of, hit you and be like, this was a person. This is like a human being with blood flowing through his veins. He had a little, I think, 2 children and a wife, and a lot of people that worked for him. He gave a lot of people jobs. You think that could have been the catalyst. So we'd like to see things kind of start happening, start changing, and things starting to, with all this layers. The other layer, of course, is the eclipse is at that 29th degree of Virgo. So right at the solstice, where we're seeking justice, solstice, that is balance, that is, justice, finding equality, and then, for everything that's been going on. And again, with the guy that killed the universal health care, now this guy that killed Charlie Kirk, the one that killed the girl on the train, what's going to happen? Who's going to be held accountable? And, it's Judgment Day, really. We saw people getting kicked off and getting fired for comments that they've made, about like, oh, well, he brought it on himself, or this or that. No one brings on their own death themselves unless they're like aiming a gun at police and, death by cop. People can say what they want to say. It doesn't mean they should get killed. Again, very mercurial. That Mercury opposite of Saturn and Neptune, which is about what should the laws be. I don't know what my dog's all of a sudden running after. What should the laws be? Everything's kind of up in the air. All right. So we have freedom of speech, but what really can we say? What really should be in that? Like, is it anything? Can you just go ahead and say anything? So I think that has a lot to do with, so we see a lot of the freedom of speech. I think that's going to be a key thing. What is going to be things that are acceptable, and what is really crossing the line, and what do businesses and even governments, what do they have the right to do to things that just seem like they've crossed the line? So I think that's going to have a lot to do with this eclipse as well, and for the future of, our country and around the world, really. Now, we have Mars in Libra during Libra season 2, and in general, wanting harmony, wanting justice, and wanting mediation. And we have that again at that last degree, which means like something needs to be done now. This needs to happen fast. Things need to change fast. So this is like that critical degree where something's got to happen because things are just going to get worse. And that's what I mean about, like, I just want to see something happen before another bad thing happens, especially, you know, like I said, seeing those cuts and with the healthcare and then RFK and so many people being angry with him, that makes you really worried right there. So something in need of repair, that's that Mars. All or nothing, my way or no way, refusal to budge. But then it is in Libra. Venus is relationships, love, compassion. How do we repair the disconnect? Then we have that Saturn and Neptune. How do we stay grounded? Avoid delusion. How do we have compassion for those we don't understand, for those that we don't think the same as? And that is the key. This all points to the key, and that's that Saturn and Neptune conjunction. Everything's pointing there. The yod, the kite, both pointing at that peak, that grand trine in air, all pointing at that Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And it's just really hungry for the truth, digging for answers, being able to see someone else's perspective, balancing fact from fiction. The South Node conjunct this eclipse is where we need to let go of something. When it's a South Nodal eclipse, it's about releasing something away, releasing hate, releasing division, releasing that horrible rhetoric and stopping it that can cause so much of this division, so much of this brainwashing on any side. Because if you're only looking at one side, you're not seeing the other side, you're not understanding the other side. So you want to have both perspectives. You want to balance. You want to have balance. You want to have harmony. We don't want to have this unrest where, like, one side's up here, one side's up here. So even on a personal level, I just want to add this in. So this is a term that I kind of just learned when we were watching the show Love Island, I think it was. So this yod can feel like a love bomb. It's Venus and Mars. That's that love. But we don't, you know, this person just showering us with affection, gifts, love, you know, over the top affection. I love you, I love you, I love you from day one, and everything just love bomb. And then all of a sudden, done, disappeared. Because is this real? Is it is it concrete? Or is it just in my imagination? Is it just an illusion this person's trying to put on? So look at any kind of new relationships where you feel like someone's getting too much too fast and it seems all great. It could be that kind of that love bomb, and that, you know, and this yod is like pointing it out, like, look, you don't know, you know, it's pointing right at it. So that's that catalyst right there. And on a more personal level, again, you know, we're at the panic stages. We're at that 29th degree. Something needs to happen before it's too late. And I feel that that's kind of going on all around right now with everyone. Everyone's kind of like, all right, something needs to be done. I think that's why a lot of people are losing their jobs. I think that's why, you know, they got rid of Kimmel on TV, if you've heard about that, because it's just wrong when you're just constantly keeping up that division instead of trying to bring things together and fix things, fix the evil that's happening with all these senseless killings and with all this division, fixing it. If you're just going to keep up with this division and just talking shit about the other side, it's never going to go away. And I'm talking about both sides here. I'm not just talking about one side. But in light of this assassination with Charlie Kirk, we're looking for a reason why this person felt it was okay to kill somebody. Why did they feel like they had to do that? Why do they think it's okay to assassinate someone based on their beliefs? You know, with knowledge is power. That's what Charlie Kirk stood for. Finding knowledge, having those open debates with people, hearing their side. Anyone who'd step up to the mic, he would talk to. And I wasn't really a big Charlie Kirk fan. I'd never really watched anything that he'd ever done, but ever since, I've heard different things from people that have explaining, and then I kind of went back and I watched some things, and you know, he wasn't this divisive person that people are trying to say. You know, the things that he said, he was, if you actually watch the videos, you can kind of see that he was seeing another perspective. He was listening, but he was also explaining his side too. So that's that seeing another perspective. That's that Neptune. But he was conservative. That's that Saturn. You know, he was firmly grounded in his religion. So that's, you know, and then others are the same way. So that is that pointing towards that. So it kind of sounds like, you know, he's hungry for the truth. Again, seeing with that Mars in applying square to Pluto on the at that 29th axis as well. So we have Mars almost hitting that 29th degree, Pluto hitting that 29th degree. With this, again, something else to layer on top that is going to make things a little bit more panic mode, a little bit more. Something has to happen. This is a critical time. So this is really showing that this is a critical time in our lives, which we knew this was going to happen. We saw this coming years ago. The astrology just pointed to it. So now we're in it. We're deep in it. It's happening. We see it happening, and we don't know what to expect next. Actions taken can be transformative. So you want to make sure that these actions are for good, not for evil, not for retribution. So don't, if you were a Charlie Kirk fan, don't go killing people on the other side. You know, that Mars in Libra, you want to have compassion. You want to find balance. You want to come together in tragedy. And that is that Jupiter in Cancer. The same place Jupiter was back after 9/11, when there was division in the country. But then 9/12, everybody was united against the same thing, against terrorism and the people that just hurt so many people and still continue to hurt people to this day, you know, with children growing up without parents and all this. So what is the catalyst? What is the catalyst going to be? Is Charlie's death the catalyst? Is that the change that we foresaw coming? Was it his spirituality, that Pisces North Node, where he knew he had to do this in his life? It was his destiny. Maybe this was his destiny, that he was destined to have something horrible like get killed happen to him, putting himself in front of this big crowds, this vulnerability, to have everybody kind of see that this is senseless and it's awful. Could his death be that catalyst, that ending to something of all the hate, the rhetoric, the division? Maybe he knew his fate all along. Maybe, you know, I mean, look at the name of his company. It's Turning Point. Is this going to be the turning point? Is this going to be the turning point of all the hate that is happening around us? So I just hope y'all, and I'm not saying anything that we're all bad people, but just look inside yourself. Put yourself in retrospect. Be that Virgo. Pick out that negativity and, you know, your inner poison that just justifies the evil things in the world. It's like, oh, good, that happened. Oh, good, that happened. Pick that stuff out. You don't need that in your life. You don't want to see things bad happening to anybody. You know, leave it behind. We can all move forward, a united future, better, healthier, mentally and physically. So hopefully you like this. If you did, hit the like button. Let me know in the comments what you think about everything that's been going on. If you hated what I said and you think I'm a horrible person, say that in the comments. Again, let's do this open dialogue. Let's listen to the other side. You know, let's see and understand where the other person's coming from. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about what I had to say. Let's communicate. Let's express our feelings with calm and balance, and love for each other, like not just going out and shooting each other. So let's grow together. Let's improve together. So please hit that subscribe button so we can go on this journey together. Coming next week, we will literally be at, or not this week, it's this Sunday, woo, for the eclipse. We're going to be at the continental divide, at the eclipse, to kind of really bring it all in and be at that crossroads. So if you are at a crossroads in your life and you want to experience that with us, I'd love to invite you. So hit that notification bell, get notified of that, and we hope to see you there. Have a good one. Bye.